Thanks for joining in, everybody. Hope everybody has had a. Oh, thanks for joining in, everybody. Hope everybody has had a wonderful time at the CBP conference so far. I know it's day 3 here. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. I just want to say thank you again for Andrew and the CBP to host this conference as a fairly new partner to the CBP family. I'm really excited to be joining and doing a talk with everybody today and having a chance to meet everybody at Nashville later next month. A little bit about me. My name is Matthew Hahn. I'm the co-founder and COO of BrewNinja. Bit of background, I've spent most of my career in sales and marketing. Prior to BrewNinja, I've spent some time in fintech and other operations software companies. But I actually studied accounting and corporate finance in university. So really spent a lot of time last few years speaking with brewery owners and brewers speaking about the business side of things, talking about sales, manufacturing, accounting, and such. For those who don't know us, we are BrewNinja. We're a brewery management software. We help breweries track real-time inventory, manage customers and orders, and help connect information all the way from Square to QuickBooks. We service breweries of all sizes, from 500 barrels a year to 10,000 and onwards, all across North America, Canada, US, and Mexico. And today, what I really want to dive into is 4 reports for your brewery that you should review monthly for growth. Not to say that, hey, these are all the only reports that you should ever look into, but I think it's something that we could dive into and really try to add it to your repertoire of reports. So through this talk, we're going to go through, hey, what are some commonly used reports right now by brewery and owners? The 4 reports to consider to add to your monthly lineup. No one wants to do with daily reports, really. And with each report, we're going to go through the benefits, the stakeholders, where the data might be. If you're not using an ERP or a brewery management system already, where can I find this information? And also how to create the report yourself. All right, so some common reports that we see, and for most of you, you probably see these reports quarterly or monthly already and know exactly what they do, but I'm still going to review them for everybody. P&L, your profit and loss, really great high-level review of incomes and expenses, right? Really see how much money you're generating, how much expenses you're generating, and seeing that profit or loss per. And usually we're seeing these reports monthly, quarterly, most likely yearly as well. Cash flow reports. So really good to review the positive or negative movement of cash, right? Great way to keep a pulse on to your cash to spot trends, dips, and liquid assets as well. Balance sheet. Now, this is probably done less frequently, most likely a quarterly look or a yearly look at the balance sheet. What it is really is a day of spot check at all your assets, your liabilities, how much money you have in inventory, how much expenses and such in your liabilities or loans, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, sales reports, right? Just a pure historical data on previous months and quarters. Now, again, most of these reports, we would find them easily in accounting programs from QuickBooks Online, Xero, Sage. Usually we see them less frequent, right? And sometimes we would try to compare them between multiple periods, but it's generally highly financial. And really the use of it is more about making big decisions, right, for quarterly or your yearly goals. However, generally speaking, you're not going to look at these reports on a bi-weekly basis or even monthly. And so what we've come up with is 4 reports that we think would allow you to have a view more in depth into your brewery operations and create a stronger planning stronger planning for the short and medium run. Right. First up, we call it the material planning report. Now, as the name suggests, it's really, we're comparing what we're planning out, your scheduled batches, what recipes and batches we're about to brew for the time period. For example, let's say, hey, for the next month, I'm about to brew 20 different batches of beer, right? In a report like this, what we want to do is see, hey, what are each recipe or each batch and the ingredients involved in it? Compare that to your current levels of inventory, as well as add on any of the purchases that you may already have, right? We placed orders for, 100 pounds of hops to BSG already. So we're going to add that into what we should expect when we look at what is still needed for the entire month. And the whole goal is to generate some kind of deficiency inventory report, right? So we can see, compared to all of my current inventories, what am I missing? I need 20 pounds more of Cascade. I need 10 more liters of certain syrups, et cetera, et cetera. And also give you a time slotted view of inventory needs, right? And of course, allows for better vendor planning. Now, generally speaking, if you're a small enough brewery, you may not actually need this, right? You may be able to do everything just in time. I purchase and receive on the Monday. I brew and use up all the 20 bags of grain that I bought, and I'm good for another 2 weeks until I need to make a purchase again. But as you're getting bigger, right, larger breweries start to hold more inventory, more excess. We have more scheduled batches per the time period. So within a 2-week span, you might actually start brewing 6, 7, 8 days out of the week, hell, even 10. And so your planning for that level of inventory starts to be a little bit more tight. So when we start planning out 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance, this is a report that's going to really help you figure out, hey, what's going to come in, what do I need to purchase? And after all the purchase and usage, even see, hey, what is going to be left over? Can I add more batches afterwards without maybe purchasing more? So again, with each report, we're going to go and kind of review who's going to use it, right? So most likely your head brewer or operations manager is going to be running this on a monthly or bi-weekly basis. And really, we're trying to hit 3 key goals, right? First is purchase planning, knowing how much volume, what ingredients we're going to need for the next shipping period. We can schedule in lead times so we know, hey, if we buy 2 weeks in advance, we're going to get some product coming in 3 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. And also have a good hold of your inventory, right? By planning further ahead, you can start reducing your inventory stock and inventory waste. If we have too much grain left over, we're going to start seeing, hey, maybe I don't use my Cascade hop for another 5, 6 batches. We're going to have some additional waste that we want to try to reduce. And of course, also reduce any understocking as well, right? Situations where if I just bought enough, but I didn't realize I didn't have enough in stock to cover any additional changes to the batch, that's going to be kind of weigh in as well. And finally, it does help with some financial planning, right? If I can figure out, hey, I'm going to need to spend $10,000 in the next month on ingredients alone, do I have enough cash on hand? Do I need to, dip into my line of credit or loans? Start forecasting some of those financial needs. Now, yeah, I mean, do we need to do this every month? Probably. I would say, we can. There's some leeway in terms of adjusting the time frame of these reports, right? Maybe it's every month. Maybe it's you want to have a shorter purchasing period, so maybe it's every 2 weeks, so that you can actually make POs and better short-term decisions on your purchases and inventory as well. And of course, where's this data going to come from, right? Considering the information we want is kind of highly based on inventory levels, we're probably going to see, hey, if you're using a ERP system or brewery management software, a lot of that inventory information is going to be there. Products like BrewNinja, Ecos, Beer 30, Obeer, etc. A lot of that information is also going to be in your accounting platforms, right? QuickBooks, Xero, Sage. And finally, I mean, of course, if you're using Excel already, we may have a lot of that information of inventory available that you may just need to modify and make some calculations on as well. Other things that we may need to look at is your scheduling tools, right? Are we using Google Calendar? Are we using some scheduling tools that allow you to see things in a Gantt chart method? And also any beer recipe tools you may already be using. Beersmith, Brewer's Friend, they have the recipes all built in, right? They know that, hey, my IPA uses X amount of hops, X amount of grains. And so by taking away that information and plugging it into your own reporting tools, then you can see, okay, well, based on that, I need how much more, again, peg it against your current inventory levels. Now, here's an example of what we may be able to see in terms of what a material planning report looks like for BrewNinja. Again, we're really trying to show what based on the time value. So for the instance, this is for my March plans, March brews. I'm going to need X amount of all of these hops, cascades, grain, etc. How much inventory do I have on hand? What have I already placed in purchases that hasn't been received yet, right? So this is going to draw down on what my needs are because we're just waiting for it to come. And of course, finally, a print off of what I need to purchase moving forward, right? But what if I don't have an ERP system? What if my current system of Excel and accounting tools aren't enough for me to run this type of report? So you can make your own, right? At the end of the day, if your ERP doesn't have it, no problem. Excel is still your best friend, right? I've created a small template here that actually people can use, but to track the overall inventory and really allows you to say, hey, in this big list, here are all of my ingredients, right? My starting inventories. And as you're adding in the batches, this Excel spreadsheet actually has spaces and areas for you to input all of your existing recipes. And it's going to pull down, hey, hop 1, you said this batch or this IPA requires 2 pounds out of the 100 that I have, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we've made purchases and we're going to put that in to add on to it as well. And the final column really is to show you, hey, after all of this is said and done, am I going to be in the positive? Am I going to have more inventory, or am I going to have negative numbers where I got to start making purchases today because this is going to last me, 3 batches or 2 batches only? At the end of the day, the session, I will post my email and contact information. So if I go through any of the reports today that you're interested, or if you're interested in this Excel, like a simple Excel template that I've created, please feel free to contact me. I can send it over, show you where some of the calculations are and functions are as well. All right. Next thing would be a profitability report. Now, the profitability report I want to go through today is slightly different. It's more so by SKU rather than looking at how profitable you are by, the entire recipe. When people look at profitability report, they're thinking, hey, which beer, which recipe makes the most money for me, right? Or how can I charge my beer based on how much it costs me to make? But costs are never static. Remember, real cost of production includes factors of waste, low fills, shrinkage, actual loss if part of the batch is no longer servable. So really, and once your price point to buyers have been set, it's common that owners kind of lose sight of the types of discounts or pricing that, hey, maybe they're forced to provide, right? Maybe it's through multiple distribution channels or larger customers looking for a larger discount. Um, or maybe it's just a lot of stuff is sold in the tap room, but once it hits your accounting or ERP systems, it's harder to separate the profitability by the type of channel and SKU. So here we're really looking for focusing on the cost and average cost of production for each particular SKU. May it be your IPA but in a tall can versus your IPA in a keg, and the average sale price for the period. Now, you may sell in the period more to your distribution channel than maybe your self-distro, or maybe I just want to lower this to only focus on one distribution channel as well. We can definitely do that, and that is actually more power to you to modify this report to see specifically, hey, distribution is working well, great margins, self-distro maybe less or maybe more, et cetera, et cetera. This type of report also gives you visibility about SKUs, serving sizes, and the type of beer, right? We can now compare data between the different SKU sizes of the same beer, or maybe the different beers of the same sizes, right? Your tall boys between your IPA and lager, which one's doing better, which one sells more, which one has more profitability and margins. Again, who's going to use it? So most likely some kind of operations manager. Usually we'll see the owner being very interested in this type of reporting. And again, we're trying to compare the actual price at the end of the day, right? What you've sold to different channels. And if you have multiple price lists, you already have that information. So we can say, you know, you can average out all the distribution channel prices and then compare that to the cost of production. Cost of production really won't change for the most part. Comparing your profit margins between beers, and really the benefit is to use real-time cost of goods so that you can factor in waste, factor in shrinkage and transfer loss, things like that. And again, hey, where's the information? So most of the time, most likely it will be in some kind of management system or accounting platform. If it's only in Excel, it might be a little bit more difficult to pull all the information into one Excel spreadsheet to run that report. But again, I've done some homework there too. So I'll show you what BrewNinja shows at this point. It's really, again, what we've talked about, being able to see this Bavarian Dark is our recipe in different serving sizes from cans to kegs. What's my average cost of production? What's the average price we've been selling it? Again, this average price can differ between distribution channels, self-distro, retail, etc. But you're really looking for, like, how can I compare the profit margins internally between one beer as well as across multiple beer styles of the same type. Finally, can we do it in Excel? Yes. I mean, we'll need some basic information, right? We'll need a list of all the SKUs that you've sold. And if you've been running invoices through QuickBooks or Xero, a lot of that information should be there already, right? We can see all the different names of products that you've sold in accounting. You can see the quantity sold, revenue generated, etc. The cost of goods will probably have to come from some kind of calculation if you're not already using a management system that can do that for you easily. But again, we can just base it off of, batch production cost split between the average packaging units, etc. Again, I do have this in the Excel template, so if anyone is interested, do let me know. All right, so now that we have all the additional information on what we need to buy raw material-wise, which products are selling the best and being the most profitable, now we need to look at who are we selling to, right? While most people tend to focus on sales forecasts and and sales volume of historical information, a reorder report really does allow businesses to see specific customer behaviors trends by analyzing like customer order patterns, right? How often are they ordering? What's the time delay between sales and invoices, right? This way we can identify, hey, who are my customers who are super consistent and which ones might be slipping through the cracks. So again, this report or analysis, if you will, really looks at time delay between orders, the frequency of ordering for each customer, right? It does allow your sales team to be very proactive and figure out how often a order is placed and be proactive to your customers' needs. Now, as your customers are restaurants and liquor stores, all they want to do is sell beer. So the easier you make it for your customers to figure out how frequent they're ordering or be proactive to time out. Hey, usually you order about 60 days. I call you about the 45, 50th day. You should be pretty low in your keg. Great. And when you call them, they're going to know, oh, yeah, it's getting a little low. And you can actually be very timely about how frequent you contact them. And of course, identifying delinquent customers, right? If you don't hear back from them for 20 extra a month over what they normally order, then there's some worries. You got to start being more worried about it. Of course, this type of analysis really is about self-distribution. So if you're going through distro channels, you really don't probably have to worry too much about it. And of course, if you are doing self-distributed, this will definitely make your customers feel like they're really taken care of. So who's going to run this report? People like me, salespeople. We love looking at customer data, right? We want to be proactive. We want our service to be the best. We want to be in their front door smiling the moment they need beer. So this is the type of analysis we want to provide and give to our sales manager to say, hey, look, these are getting delinquent, or these are people that are getting really close to ordering times, or we figured out their ordering times. And it's really just one list that you can give to your sales rep, right? They can do it for follow-up on a monthly basis. They can and really provide additional upsell opportunities. So again, where is this information that we're talking about? For the most part, it's going to be in your accounting systems. You're most likely using invoices through QuickBooks or Sage or whatnot, or wherever you're using invoices for. So a lot of that information should already be there. We have customer names, we have all the order dates that's already placed. And so, an example in BrewNinja, we're looking at just the names of the customers, the number of days since the last sales order has been placed, right? And of course, this median days between, really that's the average days between each sales order. And of course, are we overdue? If we are, great. If we're slightly under, then you know when to contact them again. Excuse me. So how can we make our own? For the most part, I don't think we need to do too much. QuickBooks, Xero, accounting systems already have all that information. Brewery management softwares already have all that as well. Us, Ecos, Beer 30. And what you do need to do, though, if for whatever reason, hey, we're not exactly getting all the information in one place, we can start looking at creating, exporting the invoices and sales orders out of your system into an Excel spreadsheet. All you need is a column for customers, a column for dates, right? And then a quick calculation of the number of days between each sales order, and then running an average on those numbers. For this one, I don't have a template just yet. I was actually still working out the kinks of making it super easy to just like copy or import a invoice export from QuickBooks into this template. So again, if this is something that's of interest, do reach out, and I can actually, when I'm done it, I'll give that out and send it over. All right. If there are any questions in the meantime, feel free to drop a note in the comments section. Uh, I'm I'm always up for answering questions midstream here. So if not, I'll go into our final report, and that's inventory valuation. Now, it sounds simple that you should know how much inventory you have already. Doesn't matter what system you're using, accounting will want to know those numbers regardless. But it's still very common that, hey, we don't look at this kind of information until year end sometimes, right? Or when I do an inventory count once a quarter or once a never. So really, this is more so a reminder to say, if you can and you have the manpower, I really do suggest looking at the very least into some kind of inventory valuation of your existing system or your existing inventory. Um, yes, knowing number of bags of grain, knowing the quantities and pounds of hops and salts and such is very important, but that's more so on the production end. I think on the management and the accounting end, knowing this valuation is still, and really we're saying, how much money of inventory do I have? So looks at the value of product on hand. We want to keep an eye out for any potential errors or anomalies, right? At the end of the day, too, it's even if you are using, ERPs and management softwares, it's only as good as the type of information being put in. So it's pretty imperative as management or as owners to really try to keep a handle on any potential errors that might come up. Or if you look at numbers, it's easier to figure out, whoa, that number looks awfully large or small. What happened there? And try to deep dive on it. And of course, we're talking about your inventory, which would be raw materials. And raw materials could be split up between hops and grains and packaging units, sure. Work in progress. So that's all the money or the value of the ingredients inside your tank, right? That's all the beer in progress. We want to make sure we know how much, in case in the most worst case scenario, it needed to be dumped or needed to be expensed out. At least you know how much money is there, how much money was dumped out. And of course, finished goods, which would be your packaged products, your cans of beer, kegs of beer, etc. Now, of course, again, who really wants this, right? Really just most likely your accountants, your owners, maybe operations manager, to keep an eye out on what's been inputting into your system. Keeping it a monthly record would be really beneficial, I think. It's probably what a lot of accountants tell us to do, but maybe we just don't do it. But reviewing annually is great. I think quarterly is probably somewhere in that happy medium, right? Just looking at the dollar amount of your inventory, ensuring its accuracy. It can really be useful for, knowing how much money you have sitting around in inventory, right? If you start seeing, I have $50,000 in finished goods, next month I still have $50,000. Well, are we producing too much? Are we holding too much product? Or how was sales? It really drives certain questions about your inventory. And the key KPI here we're looking at is a term called inventory turnover, right? How fast are we turning over inventory compared to like how fast it's sold? How much are we producing to fulfill more of that? And one final note, just have to give a shout out. Today is being sponsored by Jason Sleeman from Brewery Lender. So obviously we have to talk about some kind of lending device. Knowing your accounting numbers, knowing your books are in relatively up to date, especially knowing asset values and your balance sheet statements values is going to help if you need to do anything like an asset-based lending, right? Or even larger loans when you're going to a bank. Um, Asset-based lending is often looked at, your inventory, how much money you have in inventory, right? If it's already there and your margins are about like 30, 40%, then it's easy for the bank to figure out, okay, well, if I lend you this lump sum, you're going to be able to turn over your existing inventory to pay it back pretty quickly. So I'm, again, not the loans expert. I probably would refer you back to Jason at Brewery Lender, but there's my plug for the day. So can BrewNinja do this? Yes, I think at the end of the day, any system, accounting, accounting platforms will show you, your different accounts, and the values of it each month and quarter, right? BrewNinja does, because we know your real-time inventory. We're able to produce reports that looks like this. Hey, how much beer do I have currently? You start having different types of products, beer or spirits, we can start separating them as well. Finally, can we do our own? Again, you don't have to use Excel. It's already there. This is more about, hey, should we keep tabs, keep it updated? Maybe we should run a inventory count every quarter to update all of these accounts so that we can be a bit more flexible with, some of our with some of our lending or devices. And of course, a lot of breweries still operate kind of on a cash basis, right? So where the moment you buy something, it's going straight to your cost of goods instead of sitting in asset inventory assets. So again, more so a plug about operations. Do a couple more inventory counts a year. That would really help you update your account. Your accountant will be happy, and it's a lot less work for the end of the year. All right, so I'm nearing the end of my time here. We're really looking at, hey, at the end of the day, the 4 reports we talked about: material planning, profitability, customer or reorder, inventory valuation. These are really reports to help you tackle kind of the key things here, right? We plan our purchases better. We can secure funds better, knowing what's about to come up. We can view and compare profitability on different SKUs. We can promote and strengthen recurring sales, proactively target delinquent accounts, keep books up to date for better financial and financing decisions. And financial reports are great, but at the end of the day, it does often lack kind of granularity to help you on a day-to-day, week-to-week, kind of month-to-month decision making. And you know what? If you're using a brewery management software already, great. If you're not and just using QuickBooks or Xero or even Excel, find this system that really works for your brewery, your size, and just kind of your operations to best manage all this information. I hope that by highlighting some of these reports, we can prompt a review to see if you already have all this information handy at your disposal. Maybe if not, maybe it's time to think about moving over to a system that can really help you do most of the legwork. And of course, BrewNinja, we are one of those brewery management softwares. Again, if you don't know who we are already, I do encourage you to reach out to me, learn a little bit more about what we can do for breweries. We do have a lot of the base, your what we've talked about, reports in TTB, work in progress. We help customers track inventory from the day that you buy your grains to sales and out the front door. And yeah, thank you again for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you. If you have any questions about BrewNinja, do give me a shout at matt@brewninja.net. You can also look us up at get.brewninja.net, where you can see a 5-minute demo video, or even just schedule a time with our sales staff. They'll be more than happy to show you around with a live demo and also really talk to you about your brewery, how we know that BrewNinja can help. Every brewery is different, every brewer is different, and their needs are highly adjustable, right? So we want to make sure that we have this good conversation to know what's going on, and then being able to give advice on what BrewNinja can do, and then what would be the best way to configure it. Again, if you have any questions, I still have some time. We would love to take any comments. And if not, please contact me. And again, if you want to receive the Excel templates, give me a shout at my email, matt@brewninja.net. And then also come visit us at CBC. All right. Thanks again, and talk to everyone soon.